We are live. All right, cool. All right, everybody, welcome to the third episode of Preferably Biased. Today it's just me and Parker in studio. We have our first guest to the studio today, Kyle. How do you pronounce your last name?
Reyes.
Kyle Reyes. And Kyle, he's just a friend of ours. He actually, I was just sending him a thing on Facebook. I'm like, hey man, I'm gonna friend you on Skype, and immediately it's like, yeah, friend's probably a strong word. All right, you piece of shit. Like,
Yep. Nah, you guys are cool.
thank you. That sounded very.
Yeah, thank you, Kyle.
That sounded unbelievably convincing.
Well, it's easier to go for the cheap joke, isn't it?
No. You are correct. You are correct. We learned from the best over there and all the Joker scene.
We'd like to take this time to mention our not sponsor, Rise Up Coffee.
We drink it every.
Me and Ryan have had 2 rounds of this so far today because we can't function.
We're
without
addicted.
Caffeine.
We are addicted to caffeine.
And yeah, sponsor us, please.
All right. So, okay, Kyle. So, what's your thoughts on this Cohen testimony?
There was a lot to unpack there. In a lot of ways, it was a shit show. There was a lot of bloviating from both sides. If you really want to break it down, it really broke down into like 3 camps. Like you had every Republican going after and attacking Michael Cohen as a person, calling him a liar, calling him a scoundrel. You know, why should we believe you? Blah blah blah. But you had a camp of Democrats who spent out of their 5 minutes a good 2.5 minutes talking about how great it was we were having this hearing in the first place, and bloviating about, glad we could all be here. We're here to get to the truth. Blah blah blah, and then asking maybe 1 or 2 soft questions, and then you had some of the younger members of Congress, like Ocasio-Cortez, laying groundwork and really digging. So I think it really broke down into those 3 camps. There were some scary-ass moments in there, I thought.
What was the scariest moment that you're thinking of?
Michael Cohen's thought, I believe, I'm paraphrasing here, but I believe that if he loses in 2020, it will not be a peaceful transition.
Oh, people joviate about that all the time. Like even people talk about that with Obama. Everyone on the other side was just like, we're gonna have
it's not
a dictator.
Not the.
Why is it not the same?
It's not the same. We didn't have. President Obama wasn't circumventing democracy in the same way that President Trump does.
Yeah, just in a different way.
You're also talking about a man who was, this guy's basically his lieutenant for nearly a decade. This man knows President Trump better than most people on this planet. And to come out and say, I don't believe this will be a peaceful transition of power. The system of American democracy is predicated on peaceful transitions of power from one party to another. And when you have someone who is that close to this guy, who many view as a threat to that democracy, saying something like, I don't believe it'll be peaceful, that's a scary thought. Now, whether it comes true or not, I mean, on January 20th, 2021, after, at 12:01 p.m., President Trump basically turns into a pumpkin if he loses the next election. So what power he has at that point, that's different. But what I'm worried about the reaction from his supporters, which we have seen and we can all agree on, has been rabid, to say the least.
Oh yeah, I know a fair amount of crazy-ass Trump supporters.
But also the counter reaction too, I think, well, not as bad, is also worrying. Like,
what do you mean?
There's just a guy that got beat up, an old man that just got beat up for wearing a Trump hat.
Oh yeah.
And political violence, I don't think should be normalized. When you're talking about peaceful transitions of power, it's also the idea that you can peacefully exchange ideas too. And I think that's probably the biggest part, and it's been talked about a lot, is there's a huge divide that Trump isn't helping, but there's a huge rift in the country, and I don't think that's going to get healed without something like a war. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I'm not seeing it to where, like, if he doesn't get reelected, right, or like something like a Bernie Sanders gets in, or a Tulsi Gabbard, or how you pronounce her name, I'm not seeing a massive wave of Trump supporters coming out with ARs going like, oh, we're keeping them in there, like, or like some sort of coup. Like, how do we even see that coming on?
Well, I mean, that's taking it to the extreme.
Right.
I'm more worried about, and Parker touched on this, and yes, I would condemn those acts of violence. Don't attack a guy on the street for wearing a MAGA hat. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, I would agree with that. I mean, I'm a pretty pacifistic person. I don't believe in violence. And I had a point. It's early for me.
Oh, me too.
It's noon, guys. it's 12 o'clock.
The last one of these podcasts, I was so hungover. I can't even tell you. It was.
And he tried to act like he wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't just steer into the skid. Like,
yeah, dude, just going like, hey, it's not going to go well.
Are you ready for my big Trump conspiracy idea?
Oh, yeah, I actually am ready for this.
All right.
Okay.
From what I've gathered from these hearings, right?
Mm-hmm.
Trump, and correct me, Kyle, you might have gotten a different interpretation of this. Trump never directly says to do anything illegal. He doesn't use emails. He doesn't use text messages. All of the people around him are getting arrested that are slightly under than him. And what they're trying to get him for now is tax fraud.
Yeah, they're not.
He is Al Capone. That's the exact story of Al Capone. He's a mafia boss. He doesn't tell people, he's like, take care of the Russia situation for me. He doesn't say,
never explains any of the shit.
Yeah.
It's mild suggestions.
That's what a mafia boss does.
Yeah, but you're not gonna convict a guy on that kind of shit ever.
Yeah, but you're gonna get him on tax fraud.
Yeah, you're gonna get him on tax fraud.
Yeah,
Al Capone him up.
This is amazing because if you took anybody to court that's like a politician, you can probably get every single one of these guys for some sort of tax fraud.
Not AOC.
Probably.
I agree with you though, Kyle. I was
Yeah.
impressed by AOC. I might not agree with all of her views, but I think she's a very effective politician.
What?
I think she's also been in office. Excuse me for a second. I just want to interject here.
Go ahead.
When it comes to AOC, I just want to temper this. She's been in office just about 2 months.
Yeah.
Okay. She's effectively been a legislator for only about 2 months. And the right has jumped down her throat at every possible turn, acting, claiming she's trying to install some kind of Venezuelan socialism or something, or
she said,
well, I
think
that's a fair.
2 months. Like, there are plenty of Congress people who have been there for years and have effectively done nothing, and we're all silent on them.
I mean, that doesn't mean that you can't attack the ideas. Plus, someone who, like herself, is a young, attractive young woman, definitely going to be like Tulsi Gabbard if she gets involved. The fact that she's attractive and kind of isn't like a crazy, like far out there socialist, it's going to bring people from the other side to like her more and be more persuaded by her. You know what I mean? So that's kind of a dangerous thing for anyone of the opposing side, that they would want to try to take out anything. But they go a little crazy with it. I mean, some of these people are downright going to make this girl the next president by getting mad. Because she did one thing where she was talking about, like, oh, yeah, my people who are opposing me better get ready because we're about to run train on these this legislative stuff. And then everyone wanted to act like they were super upset that she said run train and wanted to be like, oh, how could she even lead like that? And these are people who have supported Trump like in all the things that he's been saying. It just seems disingenuous as shit.
I think she does have some pretty radical policies compared to the normal operations for the left. But I also think part of the reason why the right's focusing so much on her is because she also is heavily celebrated by a lot of people on the left too. And if you gotta it's all reactionary. If the left does something, the right's gotta react. If the right does something, the left's gotta react. I mean, just like there are definitely people on the right that are completely demonized as much as AOC, which I'm for. Like, I don't agree with everything like all of her policies, but she's not corrupt, right? She actually is trying to get legislation done. Like, I agree with her, like, methods, if maybe not the outcomes of those methods,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And she's kind of a baller.
Well, so I just recently worked on the midterm election here in Maryland. This past year, and just like any other election, I mean, we've heard it our entire lives. I mean, we're all about the same age.
How old are you?
I'm 28.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Okay. So we've heard it our entire lives that, we need young people involved in politics.
Mm-hmm.
We need new blood, fresh blood. Young people need to vote. Young people need to get involved. And here we have a young woman from a working class background who got involved, got elected, and now immediately, we have half the population demonizing her because she doesn't know anything.
Well, let's be honest. I mean, if she was like this radical libertarian, that half of the situation, like that half of the population would be like, yeah, AOC. But in the other side, the far progressive sides would be like, this demon bitch. Like, it just matches up with whatever side that you're on.
I'd be kind of curious to know what a radical libertarian is.
It's Ryan Grimes. He's right there.
Not necessarily.
Well, I mean, the closest thing that we can kind of say to AOC would be Paul Ryan. Young, attractive, very involved, and people focus on the same things. There have been, I've read 3 different articles on how blue Paul Ryan's eyes are. People write about that.
Oh, yeah. If you're an attractive person, you get treated a lot better in this life.
Tall. What?
If you're tall?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. If you're tall, there's been studies that show that tall people command a higher wage.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I'm 5'6". A person that's 5'10" will make 20% more money than me on average.
On the bright side, I'm glad I'm 5'11" then. So this would be great. If we ever
I'm
start
glad
making...
I'm a writer. No one needs to know how tall I am.
Oh, right.
There you go.
Parker, if we ever start making money from this, I'm going to command a higher wage due to my height.
I said that, I forget who I said that to, and they went, well, to be fair, you're 20% less of a person. And I'm like, that stings.
Oh,
that
shit.
stings.
It's so accurate, though. But I got a couple clips here from the... so basically, this was what they were doing every single time. You're talking about the Republicans just constantly trying to...
Oh, yeah, fuck this guy, too. This Jim Jordan dude.
Jim Jordan can...
Jesus Christ.
This is the best that they had.
You said all these bad things about the president there in that last 30 minutes, and yet you worked for him for 10 years? All those bad things, I mean, if it's that bad, I can see you working for him for 10 days, maybe 10 weeks, maybe even 10 months. But you worked for him for 10 years. Mr. Cohen, how long did you work in the White House?
I never worked in the White House.
And that's the point, isn't it, Mr. Cohen?
No, sir.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not, sir.
You wanted to work in the White House.
No,
you
sir.
didn't get brought to the dance.
Sir.
And now?
I was extremely proud.
It's just like, oh, there it is, man. You didn't get in the White House. Now you're coming here to lie on your buddy.
That guy.
Every single Republican that talked about it was basically doing like this. Which, I mean, they kind of have a point with the guy. You can't trust anything that he's saying. I mean, he's lying.
Just a decent bit of what he's saying.
You don't know that, and I mean.
Okay, so let's break this down for a second.
Yeah.
Why are they calling him a liar?
Because he lied.
Because he lied on behalf of the president.
Right.
Yeah.
But now, obviously.
But now we know that the president was lying.
Well, he says
and
that
this guy is coming forward with the truth now.
He does say in his statement later that the president never directly told him to lie, like what you guys were talking about earlier with the whole Don way that they would do it, not directly telling people. So you wouldn't be able to convict him on that or anything. But with this guy going to jail, and with as dishonest as his life has been to this point, which clearly he's lied for Donald Trump on multiple occasions, if he wants to not go to jail or not have a hell of a time in jail, I don't think it's far of a reach to say that other political actors on the opposite side of the spectrum would have a possibility of corrupting this guy into lying for them. It's not like he's a...
But if he was going to lie for them, why did he half measure it? Why didn't he just say, Trump told me to get the Russians to hack the DNC? Why is he half doing it if he's corrupted?
It's a good lie. No,
I believe a lot of what he's saying.
Okay.
I believe most of it.
I would like to make 2 points here, if that's all right.
Good.
One, I think in regards to this, do you guys see Congressman Jamie Raskin's comment?
Which one? What did he say?
Paraphrasing again here, but he said, I don't think the Republicans are upset with you that you lied. I think they're upset that you stopped lying for the president.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I believe that.
I think that's a succinct point. Two, Jim Jordan's little hypocrisy display here. I'd like to just submit for the record that he was a assistant wrestling coach for 8 years at Ohio State. Is that correct?
Does that mean something?
Well, there's the Ohio State wrestling sexual abuse scandal going on.
Oh, what'd he do?
Well, are you guys aware of what happened?
No, I don't know anything
State?
about the
Not
Ohio
at all.
State sexual abuse.
Yeah. Okay. So, just reading here from a little article I just popped up here. Sorry to just kind of spring this on you.
Oh,
but
no, you're good.
Yeah, but in the 2 weeks since former, this is from a while ago, but in 2 weeks since former Ohio State wrestlers began to make public allegations about being repeatedly molested and assaulted by team doctor Richard Strauss, Congressman Jim Jordan, who spent 8 years as an assistant wrestling coach at the school, has repeatedly claimed any suggestions that he was previously aware of the abuse is fake news. So when he's talking, what I'm trying to point out is when he's talking about Michael Cohen working for the president, who's now claiming is a liar for 10 years, and he's saying, "Oh, I can see how you do it for 10 weeks, 10 months, whatever."
Yeah. Oh.
Jim Jordan was, is embroiled in his own little scandal here at Ohio State that he's claiming he was unaware of. But I mean, let's face it, 8 years as an assistant wrestling coach, he probably knew what was going on.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard not to just laugh whenever any sort of politician is going like, "Hey, you're dishonest." It's just like, yeah, you've done some dirty shit too, my man. Like every single one of them almost.
Yeah, but let's not so easily and readily dismiss it just because, well, they all do it. So.
No, I'm not dismissing it. I'm just saying that, like, it's just funny that every time someone is trying to call out the hypocrisy of somebody else, like a politician doing so, it's like, yeah, you know damn well, like, what he's going through because you do the same hypocritical shit all the time.
I think this is another case where if you look at it cynically, like, both sides are so transparent in what they're doing. It's like the Republicans are just trying to discredit him because they don't want Trump to get out of power.
Right.
Easy motivation. The left is bringing them. Do they want justice for crimes? Maybe, but probably they just want Trump out of power or Trump to look bad to win the next election. It's like,
and the thing
it's
is,
so obvious what they're doing.
These people don't give a shit about actually getting people for their crimes because Andrew Clapper or whatever the hell his name is that lied to Congress about the NSA spying on everybody. That dude still has a job within the government, and nothing's happening to him, and you have him right on record lying about spying on everybody. But it's been, what, at least 10 years. No one's gone back to convict him on anything. They don't give a shit.
Yeah.
You're not wrong.
But, Kyle, did you see the part about tax fraud where Michael Cohen says Trump committed tax fraud?
Was that during the Ocasio-Cortez walkthrough?
He did it during his opening.
I know.
I think AOC did.
She did something about his Bronx.
Yeah, exactly.
Golf course. Yeah, that was an interesting line of questioning. Way to open that one up.
Do you know? I don't know a lot about tax fraud.
Nor do I, because I do not do it, government.
We need like a lawyer on here to tell us like what of the things he's being accused for are like a fine, and which of them are like Trump goes to jail for 10 years.
Right, and a lot of them are like so, and also they he would constantly sprinkle in a bunch of like stuff that was meaningless with something that could possibly be something. Like, did you see where they were threatening schools to not release his grades, Kyle?
Yeah, I did.
Like that is misleading as all hell because you're going to be sitting there and they showed the letter, and if you read the letter, he's just sitting there going because it's a federal crime to release somebody's data like that. So all they were doing by threatening them was sending them an email or a letter going like, "Hey, we're going to prosecute you with all of the law if you break the law." And then they're pushing that off as like, "Oh man, he's just threatening people's lives pretty much, going down all that shit."
I think the grades thing shows the transparency on how the left is, I say the left, but
right.
The people at this trial are trying to do this for political gain and not actually for justice, right?
Right.
Who gives a fuck about what Trump's grades were unless you're trying to make him look bad for the next election?
Yeah, that's exactly
it's not illegal to have bad grades.
No, it's the same political theater they had. I mean, not too long ago, President Trump was calling out President Obama, asking for his college transcript.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
the same hypocritical political theater.
All part of the machine. But I think the big thing to take away from this too is what was the big crime they wanted to get Trump on was, of course,
The Russian collusion.
Trying to get the
collusion, yeah.
Russians to hack the DNC, which they didn't really get anything off.
They got actually. He strictly pretty much disproved it.
He said that it wasn't Trump didn't. There wasn't any evidence he could give of Trump directly, like, saying to do it.
Yeah, and then if you look at the Steele dossier, one of the big things of Steele dossier was that they had Cohen cell reception or something in a certain wasn't checked.
I couldn't follow that whole thing.
Yeah, it was in like some sort of
Europe. He was
Europe
supposed to be in like
country.
Turkey, and he wasn't in Turkey.
Yeah, but if he's not there, that disproves that whole dossier. That was really the reason that the whole thing started.
I haven't looked into that dossier enough to comment on it, but yeah, I mean, if Michael Cohen doesn't have stuff, who does? Who can prove that Trump ordered the DNC hack?
And Kyle, are you a big believer in that conspiracy, or what do you?
I do think there was something. I'm waiting for the Mueller report.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Well,
that good old Mueller report.
Yeah.
I'm
Is it
waiting for
gonna
a
be-
full investigation to come out. I mean, I'm going to leave it to the legal expert here.
Why do you think? Why do you think it's taking so long? Is it because they want to do it right, or do you think they don't have much to go on, or do you think it's half and half? Maybe they have a little bit, but they're trying to find more. What do you think's going on with that, Kyle?
It's hard to speculate on an ongoing investigation
Of
like
course.
that. But let's say for hypothetical purposes that it is true that the Russians were directed by President Trump either indirectly or directly to interfere with the last presidential election. This is the greatest presidential scandal since Nixon.
It's literally Watergate too.
Yeah,
That's exactly
and
what it is.
Watergate. I mean, Nixon was only brought down because people did their due diligence and brought it down right. And if we rush into this hack, I'm
gonna speculate pretty hard. I think it's that they don't have anything on the Russian shit, and they're doing exactly what they're doing here. They're trying to find any sort of crime they can find Trump on, because clearly he's got really good lawyers that have hid everything that he has ever done illegally pretty well, right? Doesn't do any paper trail whatsoever.
He's definitely done illegal things.
Yes, yeah, exactly. We can
Definitely.
all agree on that we
Yes.
know for a fact Trump has done illegal things in his past. So they're trying to find, but with the lawyers that he has, it's probably everything's like pretty well hidden, no paper trails or anything. That's probably why it's going so long. Because they're really trying to find anything.
Yeah.
Like if he jaywalked, like, yeah, I would jaywalking president, get him the fuck out of here. Obviously, it'd be a little bit more extreme than jaywalking. But that's what I think. Plus, we're never going to find out ever if anything with the collusion, because the DNC never gave up their servers.
I don't know about that.
To the
either,
FBI?
Ryan. Yeah.
How are you going to tell who hacked it if you're not given the servers?
Well, you could find a written statement that Trump directed it.
Boy, they're just going to have
I'm just saying,
a
it
piece
could
of
come up.
paper. Yes, do it. Like,
I wouldn't bet on it happening.
right. I'm just.
But some people are saying too that they might not ever release the Mueller report. That we might never get to see it.
I wouldn't doubt it.
It might just be given to Congress, and then they're like, "Nope, we're not going to give this to the public," which would suck.
Oh, if it goes to Congress, it's getting released to the public.
Yeah, someone's going to leak it.
There are at least 16 Democratic candidates who will find a way to try to leak that to the public. Trust me.
Well, if
Maybe it'll get
if-
texted to an intern with a dick pic.
This is how it's going to go. If it proves that, like,
There is a presidential dick pic imminent at some point too. I never thought I'd say these words, but I remember I was in a meeting last August or September or something, and it came out like Stormy Daniels was talking about the president's penis looking like the Mushroom King from Mario.
Well, to be
And-
fair,
isn't that like a
and-
normal penis?
no, they
Well,
gave
since
him.
then, I've been
They said
seeing a
what
presidential
Mario
dick pic every
character.
day.
Sorry, I'm talking over you, Kyle. I'm sorry.
That's fine. No, you're fine. I'm sorry to.
They said what
Go off the
Mario
rails.
character does it look like, which is a bit of a bait. You know what I mean?
He just goes, "Oh, it looked like Mario."
What fruit does his penis look like? An apple? No, it looks like a fucking banana. I bet. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
All right, yeah, this is going down a weird rabbit hole. Sorry.
You could go.
dude, that's the whole point.
You could
that's
go-
the whole point, Kyle.
You could go with squash.
Huh?
You could have said squash.
Oh God.
His
Nah,
penis
man,
looks like
I
a
like
squash.
squash. I don't want to.
You don't want to think of Donald Trump's dick every time that you're
No.
sucking on a squash. Well, you don't
Sucking on a
you don't
squash?
suck on squashes.
What
but...
the fuck? How are you eating squash?
Okay, I get real
Buddy.
intimate with my
Buddy.
food.
Yeah, it's called butternut for a reason, I bet.
Oh.
Okay.
Cha-cha-cha-cha-cha. Okay.
That derailment was on me. I apologize.
Derailing is fine.
We're just shooting the shit here.
Half
man.
of it is derailing.
Yeah, but yeah, as far as this whole thing goes, like when it comes to the Russian investigation, I'm just sitting back and waiting to see what the Mueller report comes out with. You know, what investigative journalists come out with.
Do you have a gut feeling? Or are you pretty
Sorry?
50-50? Do you have a gut feeling? Non-evidence based?
My gut tells me there was something.
There was something.
To what extent and what exactly it was,
Yeah.
I'm not going to speculate on because I don't know enough about it.
Exactly.
I'll be the first to admit. But my gut feeling says what I know about this president, what I know about what he's done before he was president, what I know about his personality and his attitude, my gut tells me something happened.
Yeah.
And there was some sort of collusion.
True.
All right, well, we got a couple more clips here. These are just little segments I cut out that I thought were kind of funny. Here is with... so Wasserman Schultz is now not just running the DNC from back in the day. She is now an elected official, it appears. So she actually got to give a line of questioning as well, and this was her opening statements.
I think I actually missed this one.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Cohen, thank you for being here today. As you likely know, I served as the chair of the Democratic National Committee at the time of the Russian hacks and when Russia weaponized the messages that it had stolen. But I want to be clear. My questions are not about the harm done to any individual by WikiLeaks and the Russians. It's about the possible and likely harm to the...
I wonder why you don't want to talk about that. Maybe because you rigged the DNC and all these emails that were this whole thing started over were your emails talking about fucking Bernie Sanders out of the election?
Exactly.
How is this woman still here?
Dude, I'll be the first to say I'm not a fan.
Dude, what was she even... Florida. Dude, get rid of it.
What, Florida?
Get rid of Florida. Why are you guys...
Get rid of Florida.
Just get rid of Florida.
We'll never
my
have
favorite,
another
my favorite
Republican...
hockey team plays there, but besides that, like,
We'll
never
have another Republican president again if we get rid of Florida.
What do you mean?
They give so many
It's actually not a bad point.
But now all those are like... Now
colleges.
all of those are gone.
Huh?
Now all of those are gone.
Yeah.
So you just minus... I had to do the math on it.
Goodbye, Republican presidency.
All right, Florida, you can stay a little longer, but come on, get rid of this district. Just we'll move them.
Hang on, I'm gonna look up and verify
Sorry.
what district that is. Actually,
She's in the 23rd district.
yeah, I just want to see where it is
Oh,
geographically.
gotcha.
It's outside of Fort Lauderdale. Yeah, I don't think that's going anywhere, but
Is it right in the middle? Where's Fort Lauderdale?
it's just outside of Miami, guys.
Oh, yeah.
It's just from west into the city of Miami Beach. It's not going anywhere.
Oh, damn it.
And Miami generally leans left.
Here's one thing I don't understand, though.
Sort of. There's that Cuban population
Are
that
the Cubans...
can tend to vote right.
Cubans go right a lot of the time.
But there's also the gays.
What do you mean?
Isn't there a big gay population in Miami? Or am I...
Yeah,
I think
but-
that's just eight. I think that's just any major city.
True.
Yeah, I thought he was gonna say there's just 8. There's like 8
Maybe,
gays.
huh?
I thought he said there's just 8. Like there's just 8 gays.
There's just- but they always vote.
They all get 7 votes.
They all vote.
Fuck. But no, man, I don't understand this. So we see all this stuff. We know that she rigged the election for Hillary Clinton to screw out Bernie Sanders, and then these people in this district still vote her in.
Yeah. Welcome
What the
to politics. A child rapist got half the votes in Alabama or whatever it
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's politics, buddy.
Those damn marketing
congressional,
ads.
like in the last 20 years, I don't have the numbers offhand, but like in the last 20 years, I think like the congressional approval rating is abysmal. It's something like in the low to mid 20s, but incumbents get reelected at a rate of like over 80%.
Yeah, it's cognitive dissonance. It's because
yeah, I mean,
it's
do
because
you guys
you
know who your
you're a
local
guy.
representatives are? Or like,
Not on the top of my head, no. I need to do more research on it. Actually,
Making us look like assholes, Kyle.
No, well, I'm
No,
just
I'm
trying to
just
make a
kidding.
point. I
No,
mean,
you're right.
the general person doesn't know who their state senator
Elijah
is, their state
Cummings.
delegate.
Yeah, I know we have Elijah Cummings.
Elijah Cummings.
But he
That's one.
He ran this thing, so that's
Well,
why.
Larry
what congressional
Hogan.
district
No,
are you
that's our
guys in?
governor.
Huh?
What congressional district are you
I
guys in?
fuck it.
Right now, we're in the one that's run by the Republican, because we're over here in Salisbury. So, something Harris. Cliff Harris or some shit?
Andy Harris?
Andy Harris, there it is.
I just know where I live always goes Democrat, so I don't really.
Because we're normally in
I'm
Frederick.
not going to change that. Or no,
Yeah,
well, I'm normally
you
in
guys are out in
Towson.
Maryland first.
Huh?
You guys are out in the Maryland first. Andy Harris' district out
What
there on
about-
the Eastern Shore.
What about
Yeah.
Towson? Do you know that offhand, Kyle?
Towson, hang on one sec.
Some guy with a D next to his name.
Or woman?
Oh yeah, well the rest of the Maryland delegation it's the Maryland 3rd,
Yeah.
and that is, God, I knew this a couple months ago. I kind of burned out a lot of my political stuff.
Because you helped out with the dude in District 1, right?
No, I'm in District 6 actually. District 1 would have been you. I'm
Oh,
not
okay,
here
so it
much
goes
of
the
it.
opposite
Yeah, he
way.
literally just said that.
Did he?
Attention.
I didn't pay. I was looking at. We have a picture of Debbie Wasserman Schultz. I was looking at her. I was just looking at her
All right.
deceptive, lying face.
Towson is Sarbanes. That's who it is.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
he's a Democrat.
What's his name? Sarbanes?
Yeah.
Sounds like something you'd see in Star Wars. Like a
Sarbanes.
Star Wars.
It sounds like
name.
a French dessert.
Yeah, it does.
I'd like the Sarbane, please.
It sounds like a. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. John Sarbanes.
That's most of this podcast, Kyle. It's us looking at people and saying what they look like, or us saying how something sounds like.
Kyle, can you
Okay,
see
yeah.
Can you see Debbie Wasserman Schultz's face right
I
now?
can.
Dude, she just looks dishonest.
That's the lady who used to ask me for like 4 unsweet tea refills at the bar.
yeah. She's the one that comes in, gets 7 lemons and extra sugar.
Yes.
Look, I'm not trying to shame like women for their makeup because I don't know anything about makeup, but she has some fucked up makeup.
It's not good.
Like her eyes do not look very good right now.
She looks like every day she puts on the makeup with some sort of haste to be like, I can't believe I have to remember all of the lies I've told over the past 17 years of my life.
I'm not going to comment on somebody's makeup.
Fair enough.
Kyle's super like, no, I'm not going to do that.
Fair enough.
Nah, I'm gonna stay out of that one.
You're a smart man, Kyle.
I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm not
I know.
above it. I'm not above it.
Ryan would have a whole podcast just about makeup if it was up to him.
Oh yeah.
Hey, you do you, girl. You know.
Yeah. Yes, Queen.
We got a.
What were we talking about? All right, let's get to other.
Here's another fella. I forget his name, but it's a Republican trying to make it to where we like show how we can't believe Cohen, I guess. But it's kind of funny.
Democrats have vastly limited the scope of this hearing. They've issued a gag order to try to tell members of this committee what we can and cannot talk about. My colleagues on the other side of the aisle claim that they want the truth, that they want transparency and fair oversight, yet the Democrats' witness to testify before Congress today is none other than a scorned man who's going to prison for lying to Congress. Let that sink in. He's going to prison for lying to Congress, and he's the star witness to Congress. If the Democrats were after the truth, they'd have an honest person here testifying. And if they were really after the truth, they'd not restrict the questioning to just a few topics. But let's take a look at those restricted topics. Mr. Chairman, the first topic in your limited scope that I can ask Mr. Cohen is about the President's debts. But, Mr. Chairman, didn't Mr. Cohen plead guilty to lying to banks about his personal finances? So we're asking a guy going to jail for lying about his debts to comment about the President's debts. He's the expert.
Yeah, he's the lawyer of Trump. That kind of seems like the guy you would want to be talking about that shit.
Yeah, I mean, who are they going to get? A guy who they have no leverage against?
Right, right.
You're not going to get, someone's not just going to flip on Trump for no reason. It's like the mafia. You got to get the rat for petty, heroin possession to get the boss.
Exactly.
Yep.
But, like...
I mean, did nobody watch Batman, ever?
Right. Nobody watched Batman. But he keeps going here, and I don't think... He doesn't he doesn't achieve the thing he thinks he's trying to do. He keeps trying to discredit Cohen, but he keeps making it to like. Here you go.
Mr. Chairman, your next couple of topics say that I can ask Mr. Cohen about the president's compliance with financial disclosures and campaign finance laws, but didn't Mr. Cohen on 2 occasions break campaign finance law with his own donations? So again, the majority party's star witness on the president's compliance is a guy who broke compliance laws himself. Mr. Chairman, you graciously allow us to ask questions of Mr. Cohen on the president's dealings with the IRS and tax law. Your star witness here broke the law with regards to the IRS at least 5 times. He pled guilty on cheating on his taxes, lying to the IRS. He's the best witness you got?
It seems like the best witness you could have. You're gonna sit there and tell us like, oh yeah, this guy is on trial. He's testifying against a guy for murder, and he's murdered people before. You can't take anything he says.
Or hacking. You get people that if someone gets caught hacking your company, you hire them to stop everyone else from hacking your company.
Right. But he completely didn't do anything he's probably sent out to do.
No, this is a guy who wrote that little statement about 20 minutes before he entered the chamber, gave no thought to it, talked to nobody about it, and went, oh yeah, this is good.
Oh yeah, and now he gets
This will give me a few more votes in
that's-
re-election.
That's exactly what it is. He goes back to the 7th district and he's like, hey, people of Franklin, Clarksville, and Lexington, I went after Cohen and defended your President Trump. And then they're like, okay, cool, he's got an R next to his name, I'll vote for him.
I lived in Tennessee for 3 years. The only thing you need to get elected in Tennessee is to have an R next to your name.
Oh, really?
Yeah, unless you live in Memphis or Nashville.
Yeah. Which are both cool cities.
Once again, it's just cities again. Like, it seems like anywhere you go,
Yeah,
it's a
there's
city.
a huge divide between rural and urban people.
It's almost like when you put a large, diverse group of people into a small area and they get to know each other, they tend not to hate and fear each other. It's crazy.
I feel like it's a little bit less of that and more of every time you have different groups of people in an area, certain people try to get power by going, hey, you groups, we're going to put in favorable shit for you and at the behest of some other person's interest group. And then they go, yeah, we want you. And in the rural areas, it's all a bunch of white people, so it's kind of hard to do that. It's just like, it's just like, you're the only group here.
Well, I think you need to look at Jim Crow era laws where they literally did that.
Okay, I'm not supporting Jim Crow.
Good
please,
to know.
Yeah,
Good
I'm
to
going to
know.
disavow this podcast.
That was a
immediately.
Jesus Christ. That went. That was a jump.
It was a little bit of a jump.
Yeah, people divide other people. Yeah, well, there was Jim Crow. What?
We said it never happened in white areas, in rural white areas.
Not that much of a jump when you really think of it. I mean, we're still feeling the effects of Jim Crow laws, you know.
Well, we aren't.
Yeah.
Well, we're not. No, I mean,
Thank God.
Yeah,
No,
right? Oh my God, that would have sucked.
I hope employers don't look at this. But I think we need to keep moving forward because there are a lot of other things. Especially Kyle, you seem very informed about the DNC. And are we done with this? Can I move on? Or
Yeah,
do
we
have
can.
more clips?
We can move on.
Okay, Kyle. The main thing I want to ask you, because we have our other host that's normally here is left leaning, but when we asked him about no hate, Tyler. When we asked him about the candidates for the Democrats in 2020, he basically just said, "Love Bernie, fuck everyone else." So I wanted to get your opinion on all of the real big fish that are running in 2020 on the Democrat ticket.
This is just my opinion.
I can
right
read
now.
out. Oh, sorry.
Oh, I think we're losing your connection.
You're lagging a little bit.
You guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Now we
Okay,
can
cool.
hear you.
You were past
Okay.
that
Okay.
little hiccup.
All right. Yep. I don't know why that happened. Sorry. From my perspective, as of right now, out of the declared Democratic candidates,
Mhm.
I am supporting Bernie.
Okay.
He's the closest to my personal politics. And I believe that you should, vote for the person who's going to best represent what you believe.
Mm-hmm.
There are serious contenders and there are not serious contenders. on the Democratic side. I think Kamala Harris is a very serious contender.
What do you how close are you? How big of a fan are you of Kamala?
I have some reservations about her prosecutorial record out in California.
That
Yep.
seems to be the basis for everybody.
Yeah, I am not. I am like 110% behind like aggressive prison reform, and I am totally against our archaic drug laws that send people to.
Yes,
I'm against
sir.
mandatory minimums.
Did you see where she just came out for decriminalize sex workers?
I did, and I think it's a good step forward, and I'm glad to see it.
Yeah, I'm amazed that Robert Kraft got that lobbying firm started so quickly.
Oh boy,
That's a good joke.
Thank you, sir. Yada yada.
1 point to Ryan. No, yeah, go. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm happy to see she's coming out for that. I'd like to see an evolution of her beliefs over the course of the campaign. What, of course, I always fear, being a leftist myself, is that the left-leaning candidates will run to the center as soon as the general comes up.
Yep.
And we just get another do-nothing moderate involved who, I don't believe moderates affect change. I don't believe centrists actually move the needle. And so that's what scares me about people like Kamala Harris or Cory Booker, or especially like Joe Biden.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want more of the same. I mean, there are people on the right, who voted for Trump for that exact reason. And being on the left, I want aggressive political action. And I'm not sure that every Democratic candidate is capable of doing that.
What about Beto? I heard he basically said he's running without saying he's running.
Yeah, I read that the other day too. I like Beto. I think Beto is a very good Democrat for Texas.
Yeah.
On a national scale, he's another Democratic moderate.
Fair enough.
Hey, can you bring your webcam down just slightly?
That better?
Boom.
Yep,
Yeah,
that works.
awesome.
Cool.
What about in terms of so that's in terms of who you want to win. Who do you think has the best chances against Trump in 2020?
Probably Bernie, Biden.
What about
Harris.
Tulsi? What about Tulsi Gabbard?
Tulsi Gabbard's got a good shot. I like Tulsi Gabbard.
I like her
She's
because
the
of
one from
her.
Hawaii?
Yes,
I'd like to see
She
a
doesn't
Tulsi
have a
Gabbard
shot.
Why?
She
Sanders
doesn't
ticket.
have a chance in hell.
First of all,
Who the fuck knows about Tulsi Gabbard?
I'm not voting for her. I'm probably going to vote for whoever the Libertarian Party puts up.
Yeah, Ron
but
Paul 2020.
but yeah,
That'll be Gary Johnson again, I'm sure.
Yeah, that motherfucker. That's so
Does he know where
boring.
Aleppo is yet?
That
Have we cleared that up?
Okay, first we'll get into that after we talk about Tulsi Gabbard. That was some bullshit
You
what
just-
they did to Gary Johnson.
You just took a swing at his father, basically.
You
but,
can't run for president and not know where.
Oh, they didn't
Donald
even bring-
Donald
they didn't
Donald
even-
J. Trump. That's all I have to say. To that. But
anyway, with Tulsi Gabbard, I really like the fact that
doesn't have a
she's
chance.
pro-peace. She's one of the few pro-peace candidates
got
out there that seem like she's
no-
legitimately for ending the wars, like in Syria and everywhere else.
no shot at all. None.
Yeah, because the media is not.
Biden's got a shot. Bernie could do it. Elizabeth Warren is completely smoked. She's done. No way she even has a chance.
I'm not counting her out yet.
Why, dude? After
Dude, did you see the tweet? The perfect roast Trump had of her, though, where he goes,
one?
she would be the first Native American president. Like, that's it. You're done after that.
yeah, she can't win now, dude. That's how the presidency is going to be won from here on out.
That's all he has to do.
Roast battles.
Why did she release her genetics when she's
No, that was dumb.
0.08% or whatever it is Native American?
I was extraordinarily disappointed that she rose to that bait.
Yeah, she got hooked.
Not only
And
did
got
she-
destroyed.
Not only did she do that, she looked at the numbers and went, "See, like you see, it proves it."
Yeah. No, I
I'm not
think
saying she's going to win, but I'm just not counting her out. She's got a fundraising base that will keep her in for quite a bit.
But it's but dude, there's one thing that Trump's good at. You can call him an incompetent president. You can call him an incompetent leader. He can campaign though.
Oh yeah,
He can fucking campaign.
He's
And-
never stopped campaigning.
Exactly.
yeah.
But he ran a very well-run campaign. He's I
wouldn't put it as well ran. I'd put it as effective. And there's a
Effective.
difference.
What's the difference? You mean like well ran, like morally? Like is that what you're doing?
Well, there's a moral
Difference?
and ethical ground, sure. I mean, just the constant. There's a shit show of changing hands, just like his administration. But but it was an effective campaign.
This is when he won the presidency. When he had that thing right after the whole pussy tape, when they're having that debate, him and Hillary Clinton, and she said something about it's lucky that you're not running our legal system, and then he goes, yeah, because you'd be in jail. And then half of America went, damn! That's when he won the election.
He won the election on election day. Make no mistake of that. he was losing in every single poll up until that point. He did not. On election day, people went, "Do we really want Hillary Clinton?" No. Hillary Clinton also ran a terrible campaign.
Yeah,
but
she didn't go to half the places.
Yeah, she didn't visit the Rust Belt at all. Guess who won the
I'm
election?
I'm not going to disagree with that at all. Hillary ran a bad campaign.
But I think if there's one thing you can say about Trump, he's great at campaigning. You got to have, I think Bernie's the best because he has a base. No other Democratic candidate has a real base on any comparable level to Trump.
Right.
And you have to be able to you got to be able to stand and bang a little bit. You got to be able to like jab with them. You know what I mean? I think Beto could, but taking the high road, I think, like doing what Hillary tried to do, I don't think it's going to work against an incumbent.
I don't want to see it happen, but you got to admit the debates between Joe Biden and President Trump would be entertaining.
Really?
No, I don't think so. It'd just be Joe Biden smiling and laughing a lot.
Yeah, it would be Hillary
I
part
think Joe
two.
Biden can go toe to toe with just some of the asinine things that come out of that man's mouth. But I'm not saying I want to see it. I don't want Joe Biden to be president. I like Joe Biden, but his time has passed.
I want Bernie. Bernie versus Trump.
I want an actual
I'd vote
in
for
the presidency. I'm tired of middle road moderates that don't get anything done.
But it's hard to win the election when you can be labeled as a socialist, and a lot of people still think that's a dirty word in America, especially Ryan Grimes.
I think it's a dirty word.
Ryan Grimes, when I said socialist, looked at me like a dog looking at someone with like a steak in their lap.
It's a terrible thing. Now, if you're going to want to do something like they're doing in the Nordic countries, where they have a primarily free market in a big welfare state, yeah, maybe I can be swayed to do something like that. But when you're sitting here and you want to raise all the corporate taxes and all that jazz, to you need to have that sort of base of private business in order to have the taxable income, in order to have that welfare state that you want. And they're always talking about raising all these taxes, which incentivizes all these companies to go to the Nordic countries with the lower corporate income taxes. So now they're getting the tax base to pay for all this shit, and then we're going into further debt.
I'm going to be right back.
We got pee?
Kind of.
Oh.
No, I got to grab my charger.
Okay, well, Kyle, it's just you and me for right now. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, you want me to go full on Marxist here? Because I could probably talk about that for like 2 hours.
You can, don't do it for 2 hours, but we can have a discussion
No,
about
I mean, I definitely think the Scandinavian countries are a model that we need to look at. I definitely think most of Western Europe, most of the civilized, industrialized world has adopted things like universal healthcare, universal education. These are things that I don't understand why the United States hasn't adopted and why we can't pursue when we spend literally billions and not trillions of dollars on unnecessary warfare.
Right. I agree with that. I agree with the overspending on the war's bad.
We drop bombs in the Middle East, and I don't hear anybody going, well, how are we going to pay for that?
Oh, they're out there. The minute
someone says, I want free college tuition, everybody goes, well, how are we going to pay for that?
Yeah, well, I mean, like the like Fox News and people don't complain about it, but I mean, that's just the thing that always gets me is like what you just said. It's like nobody talks about that. It's like there's a lot of people on the right-hand side of like the political spectrum who are complaining about these wars and everything, but they don't get TV time. You don't. They have to start their own podcast and try to talk about it that way, and then it's hard to start getting a following with all that stuff. But these big media companies, all of them are run by like big corporate entities that really love this war shit. So it's not like people on the right hand side are so pro-war and don't care about the spending on the war. It's the fact that all our media is for it, and we don't get to see that perspective brought on there. Even with Tulsi Gabbard, who comes on to MSNBC, for crying out loud, every time she comes on to talk about how we should end the war, they start going at her. It's like, I thought you guys were supposed to be anti-war on the left.
You'd think so, but war's been good for everybody.
The sad reality is that you have to run on things that will get you elected, right?
Yeah.
Cutting military spending does not get you elected.
It should.
It should.
Lowering the deficit. Yeah. I mean, this is part of my problem with when I talk to people in general. And no offense, but sometimes people on the left, they're very idealistic. They talk about how things should be, right? Which is good. But to win elections, you have to talk about how things are. A lot of people on the left, I think that's the biggest problem with the left, is that A, they're diverse in their ideologies more than the right, and B, they're all, if you aren't perfect, they, claw you back down. You know what I mean? It's kind of like a crabs in the bucket situation, where if you don't have Kamala Harris, right? She prosecuted some people. Completely did something completely legal, but you might call it immoral, right? Mm-hmm. And just that gets people on the left going, well, we don't want her for president anymore. When you, eventually I think the left has to wake up and start winning some goddamn elections and stop being so idealistic.
I've said it for a while. I said it during the entire midterm. What the left does best is we eat our young.
Exactly.
I don't disagree with that at all. I certainly don't take offense to it. One problem, I'll give you guys an example. I'm sure I don't know if you're both friends with me on Facebook or whatever, but when I was working for the Ben Jealous campaign for running for governor here in Maryland, and one of the things that really just grind my gears the entire time was there was a good section of the Democratic Party who was for Larry Hogan. Who's going to vote for the Republican incumbent simply because Ben Jealous was too far to the left.
Yeah.
You don't see that on the right.
Yeah.
I mean, what's his face? Who the pedophile in Alabama? I can't remember his name.
Roy Moore.
I don't want to. Roy Moore. There were people down there.
Alleged pedophile.
Shut the fuck up.
Shut up.
I'm not. Listen, I just don't want to if anyone ever sees this.
Jesus Christ.
You have to do that, huh? You have to do that, or else you could.
Alleged murderer O.J. Simpson.
Well.
Yeah, you have to do that.
Okay.
Okay, but alleged and more probably pedophile Roy Moore received a lot of Republican votes because he had an R next to his name.
Yeah, I do believe, by the way,
the Republican Party. Oh yeah, I know. The Republican Party will get behind their candidate simply because they're part of the party.
Exactly.
Right.
Democrats won't do it because of some break in ideology.
Yeah.
And on one hand, I'm sure you can admire that. But on the other hand, I mean, it's like Aaron Sorkin wrote in the newsroom, if Democrats are so goddamn smart, how come we lose so goddamn always?
Exactly.
So goddamn
well,
always.
There's an old saying that I think is very apt for the left, which is don't let perfection get in the way of a good idea, right?
Well, there's not don't really have that great of ideas. I mean, here's
I forgot. Sorry.
But my thing is, okay, so when you brought up the point earlier of talking about no one ever talks about how we pay for these things when it comes to the war and everything. That doesn't dismiss the people who are actually talking about how we're going to, effectively pay for these sort of programs. I mean, I see a bunch of people bringing up numbers all the time that don't make any fucking sense, and they're just throwing shit out to be like, see, we did some math on it. It's like, yeah, well, you're being very disingenuous. Every time they talk about raising the capital gains tax, right? I mean, you can see many times in history where you've lowered that tax, and then you've brung in a lot more revenue over the coming years, and that you've raised that tax, and you've brought in a whole lot less revenue. So, since your tax base isn't just this static thing, what was that?
My phone was buzzing.
Okay, bet. I thought Parker farted.
It does
no, it's
sound
just
like
my
a phone
phone
buzzing.
vibrating.
It's very confusing a lot of the time.
But where was I? Yeah, I mean,
that's models of taxing though are an incredibly complicated thing. When you raise a tax, people are gonna find ways to not pay that tax.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have less of a base. So the equations that go into, I'm a math guy, but the equations that go into like what the tax rate should be are very like hard to figure out. To maximize revenue for taxes. It's not just as simple as you raise this tax and you automatically get more money, which I think is a common misconception.
And that's what the people on the left-hand side of the spectrum always do. They just talk about, oh, we're going to raise this tax and that's how we're going to pay for it. It's like, no, you have no idea what you're going to have there. You don't know what sort of income or revenue you're going to have. So it should be an adjustable thing year to year on how much that you can spend on this stuff and how much debt you want to go into. And then everyone always just completely discredits the amount of interest payment we have on the debt currently. Like if you go up just like 2.5% in interest rates, which is going to happen eventually, the current interest payment on the debt is going to be $1 trillion. So $1 trillion per year of taxpayer money before it funds anything has to go into that. And then all these other people like China and people buying bonds that want to give us the money into the treasury to pay for all this shit, eventually they're not going to have confidence in the U.S. dollar, and we stuck with nothing but the Federal Reserve to print the money off in order to pay for that stuff, and that's going to eventually devalue your currency to an extreme point. So, I mean, I think that's a valid argument.
That's a very far away thing, and you can't be completely sure about the losing faith in the U.S. dollar. If people lose faith in the U.S. dollar, the entire world is pretty fucked. Because almost all economies right now worldwide are run with the U.S. dollar being a secondary fiat currency.
Yeah.
All exchange rates are posted in relation to the U.S. dollar. Or, like, if some Asian countries do go off, like, the Chinese yuan, I think it's called. But that's kind of, it's a weird situation because the U.S. economy is such a powerhouse that some people think it could never fail because people know if you stop believing in it, the entire world economy is just down the drain quickly.
But and then like even there, like at the beginning of your statement, you go like that's really far away. It's like that doesn't discredit the validity of that statement though. That it's more than likely going to happen in the future, and then all those people of the future are going to go through this terrible time of millions upon millions of people dying because everything's gone into chaos. And I think that's directly immoral as well.
I don't think you've given...
Are we talking about climate change now?
Oh, no. Yeah.
I don't think you've given a mathematical proof that the U.S. dollar is eventually going to collapse.
Well, okay, so every fiat currency that's ever existed has at some point collapsed.
Yeah.
And then we have a fiat currency system.
We're in new territory, though. There used to be wars all the time. Now countries are pretty set in stone.
Yeah. There used to be wars all the time. Now there's only wars all the time.
A lot less war.
The United States has been involved in armed conflict in every decade since its existence.
Yeah, dude. What do you mean wars
There's
all the time?
There's tons of less war.
No, there's tons of less one big war. Now there's just wars everywhere.
No, there's
smaller.
tons of less military deaths per year. It's gone down consistently every year for the past 2 centuries.
Tons of less...
Stop your fear-hawking.
I'm not fear-hawking.
Do I think the U.S. should be involved in all these military conflicts? No, but on a global scale, war is down.
It should be a lot more down. And you talk about all the
gun deaths, violence,
it's like,
crime.
We're not
war is all going down.
War deaths are down, and we're not losing U.S. soldiers. Yeah, we're droning everyone. We're not going to lose any soldiers over the drones.
The other people that die are counted in that figure of military deaths. It's down.
Listen, I don't want to get to a point. I think Kyle probably agree with me. I don't want to get to the point where we're going like, listen, there's less military deaths now. Like, we should
why don't you want less military deaths? What? Why don't you want less military deaths, Ryan Grimes?
I'm not arguing for more.
You're pro-military deaths.
I'm not arguing for more, Parker.
Well, what are you arguing then?
It's a lot of money
I just
we're
want to
spending
state
on
for
these
the
wars.
record that when I run for political office in 20 years, like in this podcast is found, I am for less military deaths across the board.
Yeah, just Parker isn't.
No, you aren't! I am definitely less military deaths. I'm against military spending, but like overall, there is less war now in the entire world than most of the history of the world. Do you agree with that? Can you at least admit that?
Yeah.
Okay. That was my whole point.
Oh, well, I misinterpreted your point.
Or I would say that the general populace is less embroiled in armed conflict than it has been in past human history. The last time a war was fought on American soil, we were shooting each other.
Right.
I think you forget
But
about.
I think we're going on a
World War II.
Which Parker was so
Pearl
pro
Harbor.
about. Very pro about.
Yes, one world war I would be pro.
That's
fighting
the one.
is
Yeah.
World War II.
Yeah, I would agree with that one too, because you got to go.
Yes.
Yeah. I think we can all like unequivocally state like fuck Nazis.
Yes, I can agree.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think we're all
Nazi
behind
punks, fuck off. Doesn't it seem weird? I've been thinking about this recently. Doesn't it seem like World War II was supposed to be like the end of the movie of like humans? Like, we beat the bad guys. Yay!
Yeah, we did it.
All the countries are together in the UN, and then it just kind of kept going. Oh, shoot.
Oh,
Like somebody just wrote a really shitty sequel.
you just you unplugged that.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, now we're just in here at the after credits that no one knows.
Exactly.
Like we're the after credit
This is the
cutscenes right now.
Yeah, this is the post-credit scene.
No, worse. We're in the low budget directed TV.
Exactly.
We're the knockoff
Hey,
film.
what would happen if Donald Trump got elected? Let's go there.
Do you guys remember a couple years ago when we set off the Hadron Collider?
No, is that the
Yeah,
one? That's the thing in like.
LHC.
Is that the one in like Sweden or something?
Yeah,
Uh,
Switzerland, I think, but
Gotcha.
I could be wrong. But I'm almost positive that we got knocked into an alternate reality.
Yeah, no.
that'd be cool.
Sorry. That goes again. Sorry, I have to be the science guy. That's not how that worked at all.
Stop ruining our dreams.
Sorry.
Stop.
You're smashing together incredibly small parts. Like, people used to say, like, the big thing there was, like, what if it makes a black hole? What? Bruh.
Oh, they would have collapsed on themselves too quickly.
Good job, Kyle. You get a gold star.
The only,
Yeah.
the only thought that I had there was like, well, what if it does? Like, I know nothing about it.
Because of Hawking
You're the science
radiation.
guy. I'm the science fiction guy. I mean, for Christ's sake, I read a comic book about dinosaurs in space. It's not exactly based on past historical events.
Are you like, you haven't heard about Einstein's dinosaur space equation? Like, come on.
Yeah, E equals MC Dino.
That was a little. Mine was forced,
That
and
was
then
very
yours
bad.
was super.
That's very
forced.
bad. That's very
That was
bad.
bad.
I wish I didn't say it. I really wish I didn't say that.
No. Can we just
No,
make?
it's in the
Kyle,
record,
don't even adjust it. Just look at Ryan for a second, in shame.
All I can see is myself.
It's funny. You're looking right into the camera. You are. Oh God, that's getting me. So judgy. Oh shit. So what else do we got here?
What else is on? the
Oh,
docket?
these patriotic millionaires. I thought this was hilarious. I don't know if you've seen this group.
He won't shut up. I've watched this video like 8 times.
It's so funny.
Patriotic millionaires.
Yes.
That's an oxymoron if I've ever heard one.
Can you see? Oh, this
Rick.
guy. I'm not even gonna get into what that insinuates.
Eat the rich, baby.
Ah, you Marxist motherfucker.
Ah, viva la revolution.
Okay, so do you know anything about the Patriotic Millionaire? I guess club. What are they? Organization.
Or a group of politically minded individuals.
Yeah, there are a bunch of millionaires who are claiming that they should be taxed more, and like their videos are just hilarious. Here, I mean, know if you can hear this.
Oh, I already agree with their principle.
All right, bam.
Tax me. Tax my estate. I want you to.
Those of us who have greater wealth, we want to be taxed more.
My taxes should be raised, and other millionaires' taxes should be raised.
Millionaires like myself should pay higher taxes, starting with the idea that we earned more money.
I don't want to live in a country with a small number of rich people and a huge number of poor people.
Every time Congress touches the tax system, I seem to come out ahead. And that has struck me as quite remarkable.
I think America used to be the beacon of hope for the rest of the world. We are now the beacon of greed.
We have a debt. We should pay back to our society, not continue to just take more.
Then why don't you do that? Like, these people can give their money away. You can write a check to the U.S. government. I don't understand this thing where they're going like, they should definitely tax me more. And then you're not...
They want everyone to be taxed more.
Yeah,
All
but
the
come on.
millionaires.
Put your money where your mouth is. Stop taking all the deductions that you do take.
I'll get to that part, because that part is hilarious.
This shit.
Cuts are good in textbooks. They work great. Trickle down theory.
I'm convinced this guy's not rich, by the way.
This guy is straight from a Tim and Eric fucking video,
Yeah.
too. I think he's hilarious.
He's got some shit later that has me
They work in
convinced.
textbook. He's like trying to be an actor.
Yeah.
And he's...
What a concept. if it only worked.
I'm calling on other millionaires to give back, not seek bigger tax advantages.
It isn't communist and it isn't socialist to say, gosh, if you have more, you can pay more, that your contributions back to the society, presumably for what the society has given to you, should be higher.
I know in my own life, I benefited from public education, from public infrastructure. I built my career based on technology that used to be called the Defense Advanced Research Project Network and is now called the Internet. That was paid for by your tax dollars.
Why I deserve more tax cuts than anybody else has always eluded me.
So much money. So what am I going to do with another $20, $30 million, $15 million, $10 million? I think most rich people don't even know they get a tax cut because their accountants take care of it, their lawyers take care of it. They don't feel it either way.
My tax rate as an individual taxpayer at the top of the income bracket is frankly lower than anybody listening to this conversation this afternoon.
The federal debt.
And why is it that low? Because you keep taking all the deductions and taking the tax loopholes that you're arguing against that shouldn't exist.
Yep.
Stop taking them, you jackass! This whole thing's hypocritical as hell. I don't trust people like this.
Why should we wallow in our wealth when everybody else is struggling to get by?
We've corrupted the system so that the wealthiest of Americans have a lesser average tax rate than the middle class. They have a lesser tax rate than even some of the entry-level people. Many of the wealthiest in this nation pay no tax. They shove it overseas, they put it in tax avoidance schemes, and pay no tax.
Like
the rest
I
of
do.
them pay something around 15-20%, when the average hardworking American pays closer to 40%.
This country was founded, one of its founding principles was no taxation without representation. Now we have no taxation and no representation because the representatives don't listen to the people in their district. They listen to their donors. And the donors say, don't raise my taxes. You know, hey, you coming over to that barbecue on Sunday? And like the guy went, yeah, I like that barbecue. I've been going for the last 3 years. I wouldn't miss it. Joe's cool. I don't want to raise his taxes because then he'll have less money to donate to me. Meanwhile, the people who are bringing the food to the barbecue and cooking the food at the barbecue and slaughtering the animal, or hopefully harvesting the vegetables for the barbecue,
Oh my god.
are feeling the pain because they only have one car and they drive over the potholes. And the millionaire whose barbecue they service has 4 cars.
It is incumbent upon...
Because they only have one car and I have several. It's like, give them a car. What are you doing?
Who has a barbecue and doesn't cook any of their food?
Effort.
Sorry. Go ahead, Kyle. My bad.
What are you saying?
I'm sorry. I just want to give that guy like an A for effort. It looks like he maybe read Karl Marx's Wikipedia entry that time.
Exactly. I made
nice sentiment, poorly phrased.
I made him read the Communist Manifesto, as trying to get maybe some gears turning that libertarianism might not be the only form of government ever acceptable.
It was a poorly written book. I must admit, I did not enjoy
Marx
it.
has some good points.
I'm gonna leave this podcast right now.
Jesus. Here. Let's.
Marx has some very good critiques of capitalism.
Let's play this guy real quick, and then we'll get to that.
In response to those who call me a hypocrite because I want higher taxes on the rich, but take advantage of the rules to lower my own taxes, I will simply point out that President Trump thinks that makes me smart. And who am I to disagree?
He didn't pay any federal income tax. So
That makes
if
me
he's
smart.
paid...
I think all rich people should pay more in taxes, not just me in particular.
So for those of you calling me a hypocrite, eat a dick. That's basically what he just said.
Look, I'm gonna keep fucking your wife until I don't think people should be fucking your wife, but I'm gonna keep doing it until it's illegal for me not to do it.
She keeps letting me do it.
Yeah, she keeps letting me do it.
I can't believe she just keeps letting me do it, man.
I agree on higher taxes for wealthy people and closing a lot of the tax loopholes. But could they have found any uncooler people?
Right?
These are like the least cool people. All right, Kyle. What do you think? Are you for? I'm guessing you're for I think it was the 80% proposed over 10 million.
The 70% marginal tax rate.
Yeah. Are you in favor?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Okay, so
it's a tax rate that doesn't kick in until after the first $10 million.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you think they're gonna pay that?
They should.
No. Like, you think they're actually going to pay it though? Like, they're not going to take all these deductions and loopholes that they're allowed.
Well, in conjunction with enacting that kind of marginal tax rate, we need to close the loopholes and reduce those kind of deductions for those kind of people.
Okay, so with the amount of, here's my thing. Like, I feel like you need to have separate legislation where you first cut the loopholes, see how the current tax rate goes with those loopholes cut, see what sort of revenues you get, wait to see if businesses start fucking leaving once they actually have to pay that full tax, and then think about seeing where everything kind of lays out after you get rid of the loopholes, and then think about where you should adjust the tax rate.
I'm not in complete disagreement with that.
Right.
I think you definitely need to close the tax loopholes. It's stupid that someone that makes a million times as much money, more money than I do, pays less tax than me.
Right, and it's very annoying.
It's super stupid.
It's not just annoying; it's unethical.
Yeah, and we can also get to the point that if they end up paying those taxes, who actually pays those taxes? It's not necessarily it's the middle class though, because we're the ones buying the goods of those people that are selling them, and they're just going to raise their prices to adjust for the profit margins that those taxes now bring onto them. You know what I mean? But I guess you're like, this is me taking a leap on Kyle right now, but I'm assuming your solution to that part would be like, we'll just tell them what they can charge.
Wait, rephrase that.
Like, okay, so
I didn't follow that very
So
slowly.
say you get rid of the loopholes, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, in order to make up for those profits lost now that they're actually paying those taxes, prices go up, and the middle class, their products cost more now. And that means you're the one that's actually paying that tax.
That's
right?
not how economics works.
That is how it works.
No, you sell something for how much most people are willing to buy it for.
Right.
Production cost is not the biggest factor when it comes to economics. That was disproved in the 1600s.
Well, okay.
How much
so I'm simplifying
it
a fair
costs to
amount.
produce does not determine. You sell it at what people are willing to pay for it.
Right.
If you're making $10 off your lemonade stand, I'm not trying to talk to you like you're a kid. If you're making $10 off your lemonade stand, and the taxes come in, and now you're only making $5 off the lemonade stand, you're still going to have the lemonade stand because it's still making you money.
Okay, but there's also the money that you have to go into continuously investing in the capital that you have and continuously running the organization, right? So
$5 profit.
These taxes would go nationwide on all of the businesses. So I would assume.
I thought it was a personal income tax.
No. Okay. Well,
am I wrong with that, Kyle?
Well,
it's a income tax, not a corporate tax.
Well, once you got rid of the deductibles and everything on that, the corporate tax rate would be legitimate too. You'd be paying that full corporate tax rate as well, because you can take deductions on your business and pay a lower tax rate on your income and on your corporate.
My understanding is that the marginal tax rate would be on personal income, but obviously corporate taxes would go up as well.
Yeah.
Right. I'm just talking about if you got rid of all the deductions, it would make both of those tax brackets pay the full amount of tax.
All right. So I want to walk through this, make sure I understand where you're coming from here, Ryan. So what you're saying is higher taxes on the rich means that they're going to increase the price of the product in order to make up for lost profits.
Yeah. Or
and in turn, that cost is put onto the lower and middle class.
Yes, because you have to purchase those
because
products.
Prices go up and wages remain stagnant. Which is exactly what we have now.
Yeah.
The price increase is not going to be proportional to profit loss. It might go up a little bit, but
but it's going to go up.
They maximize profit. That's what businesses do.
Right.
That's what. Yeah,
it's going to go up.
We see corporations do that now.
But basic economics tells us that production cost isn't what determines the price that you sell a good at.
Right.
It depends on what people are willing to pay as well.
Yeah. So if you put all of that cost on the consumer, they're going to buy way less, and you're going to make less profit. If the cost increases a little bit, which I agree might happen,
I'm not saying it's going to be 1-to-1, but the prices are going to end up going up. They're not going to.
A little bit.
Yeah. So
probably not your Big Mac's not going to cost $7.
Right. How much does a Big Mac cost?
I don't know.
I don't eat McDonald's anymore.
How much does a banana cost? $10?
$7. $7 for your banana.
I mean, how much does a gallon of milk cost, guys?
$3.
Oh, really?
I just
Trader Joe's, buddy.
I just threw one out there.
$2. Trader Joe's. Trader Joe's plug. I love.
I gotta start going there.
Company.
Parker talks about it a lot.
You can get a ton of salmon for like $10. It's a weird thing to say, weird sentence, but you can get
this
a lot
whole
of
thing
meat.
has been full of weird sentences.
Yes, Kyle, that's the whole point.
I've quite enjoyed myself. Don't worry.
All right, so let's talk about So I already know almost all of Ryan's political positions because he's very predictable. But what do you think would happen if you did this marginal tax increase? What do you think the economic effects of that would be?
Let's be honest. I can predict what he's going to say too.
Now I want to hear what he has.
Go ahead.
Our best economic prosperity was when our tax rates were that high.
Oh, so okay.
But the
that's
correlation. It also happened to be that America was the only economic superpower that didn't get absolutely dumpstered in a world war. And that also had a little bit to do with it.
And the same thing that was going on there with all the loopholes and deductibles that people had back then still existed. It was much easier to commit tax fraud against the IRS because we didn't have the technology to be finding people that shit. I mean, you can look at the average amount of taxable revenue to GDP throughout all of history, and it averages around from 17 to 20% throughout all of U.S. history. So no matter what the rate is, you're only getting 17% on average of the taxable revenue from GDP. So, I mean, we're sitting there going, oh, yeah, we had the 90%, and that's when we had our best times, and then, and by facto, that makes it
I already know
right.
what you're going to say.
I'm just saying,
I'm not trying to be a dick.
We don't know how
I
those
want to
work.
hear what Kyle has to say.
Okay. Got him.
No, I do this thing where I think before I speak.
I've heard about this. We should try that. We should try that.
That was good. Oh, you
I
bastard.
drink before I think.
Oh.
Oh,
Sorry.
man, that was also pretty bad, but
Nah, take your time, man. That's
I'll
fucking. Oh, that's funny.
Nah, that was solid. I don't know how we're going to achieve any economic prosperity if those with more don't pay more. And I think one of the problems with the system inherently is we often confuse what is with what ought to be.
True.
And we're so ingrained in this system that the system is, and we need to work around the way the system is, when we forget that we invented the system. And we need to, if we're going to tax the rich more, and we should, and we're going to use that revenue, then we need to reallocate that funding. That's the other big problem. That's the problem we don't talk about. We've kind of touched on here, but we can tax the rich all the live long day, but if all the money's still going to imperialistic warfare, what's the point?
True.
Yep.
True.
Okay, yes, we do need to tax the rich more, but we also need to examine how we do things in this country. I mean, the military budget is super inflated. I think we can all agree on that.
Yep.
Okay, why are we the only country why do we have a military base in like every fucking country on this planet?
Because we're the world defender of economic interests. That's why do you think one of the big things that I think people don't realize is why is Europe allowed to spend so much of their GDP on things like healthcare and social services, which I agree with to some degree. But part of it is because America has, to a degree, been the big bully with the big military.
Right.
We're the huge friend. Why don't you pick on me because my friend over there is 7 feet tall and jacked as fuck, right?
Mm-hmm.
And part of it, I think, has been that we have been paying more than our share to have an imperialistic influence, yes, but that has helped other countries that haven't had to spend almost any money on a military. Like France and Germany right now are just now starting to up their military spending because they see that the U.S. might not have their back as much.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's part of it too, is that when people point at all these European countries, is our military budget overinflated? Yes, but that has also benefited a lot of our allies more than they want to give us credit for.
But like what Kyle was talking about. He was talking about I believe he was moving towards the morality of having all these bases everywhere. Should we be in all those places, or should we just get rid of those bases and have a defensive military where half the budget could pay for all the defense of the nation, and then we're not spending all that money that we don't have to do all this other shit?
There's a cold reality of a defensive military is that offensive militaries have influence in the world. If we don't, I'm not completely for all the military bases and the huge budget we have. I definitely think it needs to be lowered. But when you have competing superpowers like China that has tons of military influence and you don't have any military influence, that hurts your power as a country.
So you'd be afraid of like China gaining influence getting influence in some other country, either taking that country over or convincing their leaders because they have power over them to sanction America or something.
Yeah, I think it was called the Cold War last time that happened.
I'm not saying that's an unrealistic.
No, I'm just saying. I'm just saying, like, it literally happened. You literally had Russia as a superpower expand its influence.
Right.
How'd they turn out?
They kind of collapsed due to all the money they were spending that they didn't have.
Probably more due to their economic
model.
Not model. I don't disagree with the model.
I tried to walk you in there on that one.
I know, but it's the corruption, central planning.
Mm-hmm.
That stuff doesn't normally work out.
But that's my
too
thing
well.
when we start increasing the government's role on the economy so much. I believe that corruption
is inherent.
It's inherent in that sort of system.
As the corruption in capitalism is inherent to
I
capitalism.
don't believe so I would say what we have now is not capitalism, just beauty. Okay, so I think in order to have capitalism, you cannot
have money in politics.
Yeah. So that would be number one thing to first of all, that's an interesting conversation because I've never really talked about that too much, about like how you actually prevent the money from coming. Should it just be illegal to give for businesses of any sort to give money to political campaigns?
Yes.
Yeah, super PACs should be illegal.
Of course.
Yeah, I would
super
agree
PACs
with.
should definitely be illegal.
Yeah, so no super PACs. If you have to give everything as your person, like your corporation or your business cannot.
And a cap on those contributions.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, what sort of cap would you think?
Well, the federal limit right now is what, 2,000?
Yeah, I think 2,000 is a pretty good number.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. So then you'd have to rely on smaller donations on people. I think that's a legit thing. And why not?
Well, here's another thing that I think would help. You look at European elections. The election cycle is maybe 8 weeks long.
What?
They also have a better voting system, too. I think the voting system, which I kind of don't like talking about because there's no path to getting the voting system changed in America, but the voting system is pretty horrible.
Oh, that's a whole different...
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about parliamentary democracy versus a democratic...
Oh, no, I'm talking about literally, like, in a lot of European countries, if you haven't heard about this, they don't have... What we have is called first past the post. Whoever gets the most votes wins.
Right.
What they have... ranked voting.
Yeah, exactly.
What is it? What is it?
It's where... All right, so you'd put on a ballot... you'd rank all the candidates on a ballot, right? So you could rank Gary Johnson first, right? Gary Johnson, and then they go through and they knock out the lowest, the person that gets the least amount of votes. So let's say you voted for Gary Johnson and as your first candidate, and he got knocked out. Then your vote moves
have a second
to your second favorite person. So what you can do is you can vote for your own personal interests, who most closely aligns with you, without being afraid of throwing away your vote.
Well, that's that seems like a very effective system. That gets rid of...
there's a huge call for it.
Yeah, but it's never going to... You need a constitutional amendment, which I don't see happening in the next 25 years, probably.
I don't see a constitutional amendment happening anytime.
Well,
we're as divisive as this country is.
We've just said fuck constitutional amendments anyway. They've just been passing things with laws to give more power to certain branches of government.
Because the power is so entrenched. The two-party system has so much power in American politics. I mean, yeah, you're not gonna break that anytime soon. I don't see.
Yeah, that's just like with the War Powers Act.
I have a question for Kyle, though.
Go right ahead.
All right, so what would your ideal economic system that you live in be? Would it be
seizing the means of production?
A form of socialism? Would it be a social democracy like Europe? What would you like ideally, not in practice, want for a government?
Ideally?
Yeah. Not in practice.
Hobbiton.
Excuse me?
What's that?
Hobbits?
Hobbesian?
We're gonna have hobbits?
Ideally, I would love complete and total communism.
Okay.
Wait, whoa, whoa.
Okay.
Do you think that could ever happen in the next 200 years?
Practically?
Yeah.
Probably not. Okay. You know what? Ideally, I take it back. You want to talk about an ideal system?
Like, let me rephrase this. Okay, not ideal as in like genie wish ideal, but also not limited. Like, there's not a country, like something that could work in the real world, but doesn't necessarily like.
What would you like, Kyle?
Star Trek.
Ah,
fair enough.
Okay.
I don't even know what system of government is in Star Trek.
There's no economics in Star Trek. There's no system of currency, no system of money.
Scarcity.
No, because they're just in space chilling. Fuck
Well, it's just like I would like to see a united human race get past petty squabbles in the spirit of exploration.
So we need aliens to bring us all together, basically.
Yeah, I mean, you guys ever read Watchmen?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, that's the end of Watchmen.
That's a very dark book about the end, graphic novel about the ends justifying the means, though.
You guys just ruined Watchmen for me.
Need to go. I'm not calling for an Adrian Veidt.
Well, okay. So you could run America, whatever system of government you wanted to. What do you think the most realistic, effective government would be? That would be your favorite.
I would look at a Scandinavian model out of Norway, Denmark, Sweden.
Okay, fair enough.
So we would end up lowering our corporate tax rates. I think we raise them up just a little bit more than because they have a little bit higher now. But that's a pretty free market system they have over there. I mean, they have some regulations on pollution,
pay
but
like 70% of your income as tax there.
Yeah, I'm just talking about the economic model.
Norway does, because Norway's not in the EU.
But those countries you're talking about, you pay a lot in tax and you get a lot of social services.
Yeah, I'm more speaking about the fact, like, their markets are a lot not as regulated as us. Like, there's scores of like maneuverability within your economic.
Yeah,
I think whatever the fuck.
Most people would say that's, or not most people, but a lot of people on the left would say that's because of their good social programs. Do you agree with that, Kyle?
Yeah, yes. Don't get me wrong. I've heard of things where they're talking about like, oh, because of the universal health care, people aren't as afraid to leave a job, right?
Yeah, which is horrible.
Yeah, so
it's horrible how that system works.
But I mean, there's so many things that the government's got involved in that has ruined our healthcare system to this date. I mean, a lot of people on like my hand of the political spectrum talk about like the free market healthcare. I'm not the most educated on this type of thing, but last week we talked about this for a little bit. There's this guy in Kansas and a couple other states like Utah. What they do is they kind of get these communes of people together to do like. So this doctor takes $10 a month for your kid, $50 a month for you, and if you're like an older person, sometimes they do like $75 a month. With that, you join in with all the other people in your area that have bought into that program. And you get unlimited access to the doctors that are there. You get unlimited lab tests or like x-rays or anything. So all of the preemptive care you get for that monthly payment. Now, if you were to allow people to buy insurance for just things like cancer, that would, like just critical care, not have to have those other things cost. That would bring down the price of insurance a fair amount. And if you open up the market to allow people to buy over state lines and a bunch of other regulations that raise the price of insurance because insurance companies have lobbied politicians to get these advantages against smaller insurance companies, all that kind of stuff could bring down the prices over time to a reasonable price that people could afford, I would believe. So since the government's fucked with everything for so long, we never get to see how that would work out. And that's kind of the argument on
I would be for
the libertarian side.
Yeah. Kyle, do you feel there are inherent problems with using capitalism for healthcare?
Absolutely. It's profiting off people's health.
True.
What would you say?
Do you think
if you're sick, You deserve to get better. You shouldn't become if you become a doctor to make a lot of money, you shouldn't be a doctor.
I mean, yeah.
That's
You
not
don't
the
think
point
there
of
should be
becoming a doctor.
economic
That's not the
incentives to doing one of the jobs that requires the most schooling? Don't you think that would have like competent like
You'd bring
interested
in
people
yeah.
move towards being a doctor even if they aren't like compassionate about it?
And also, you talk about not having. Sorry for interrupting, but I just want to make this point. You talk about like, they shouldn't have an incentive for profits. Well, in this, like with that guy in Kansas, he's got a system where he's lowering the price for everybody a drastic amount, cutting the insurance company out and the middleman out, but he's going to make a killing.
You still have to have insurance with that guy, though, Ryan.
No, you don't.
Yeah, you do.
That's
what happens when you get? He doesn't have surgery. Like
a
surgery.
No, I see. No. I'm just I'm talking about this.
Whatever it's called.
I'm talking about theoretically, if you were to go like what I explained earlier with the just getting.
Yeah, but when you have
critical insurance.
But he's all right. Basically, what he's doing is he's taking the cheapest part of healthcare,
right,
and he's making that a monthly thing. Right?
Mm-hmm.
When you do that for the most expensive parts of healthcare, the model is the price goes way up.
But when we're talking about insurance, those less expensive things on insurance companies get paid all the fucking time. So that is money that the insurance companies constantly have to pay out, right? So that inherently increases the risk of every single person because you know that they're going to have those done. If you just have the critical care insurance, the risk factor goes down, so does the price.
I don't think by that much. You know way more about the medical field than I do.
Right.
But in general, from what I've read, it's the surgeries, the stuff like that that's super expensive.
Yeah, but the way that the insurance deals with is the price is built on the inherent risk of the individual. So if you have to pay, if everyone's got this couple of insurance companies and everyone has the smaller things covered, the price overall is going to be higher because they have to pay for all of those things out of the pool of money that they have, right?
How do they not have to pay for those things?
What do you mean?
If you get rid of that.
What I'm saying is, the insurance companies, if you are in one of these pools of groups that with these like local doctors, you don't need the insurance company to pay for those things because you've got a lower rate than even what your insurance would be. So you can go, I don't want to be insured for all this shit. But currently, right now, under our current laws, like they make you buy a shit ton of extra stuff. Like I got to pay for maternity care if I buy my own insurance because it subsidizes somebody else.
Yeah.
But if you're able to do this other thing where you take all of these preemptive things and cheaper parts of the medical field out, which are the things that insurance companies will have to pay out a majority of the time, you reduce the amount of times that insurance companies have to pay out. Because, like you said, the car accidents and all, getting cancer, that's way less infrequent, but higher cost.
Mm-hmm.
So they'd be charging these people this money around the country. They would be paying out less, so they would begin to get a bigger pool of money there. So now they have a little leeway with how much money they have in their coffers. So they don't need to be bringing in as much because there's less that they have to pay out frequently, even though that cost of that service may be higher than everything else. I hope that made sense. It did not. Did it not make sense?
I'm still not following it.
Okay, I'll bring charts.
I get
next
where
week.
you're coming from, but for me, healthcare is very simple. You're sick, you deserve to get better.
Well,
and as a society, we have a vested
simple.
interest in making sure we're only as strong as the weakest among us, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have, as a society, we have a vested interest in making sure that the sick get healthy.
That's like saying we're only as smart as the dumbest person.
No, that's a false dichotomy.
How so?
That's like you still have Einstein, even though there are dumb people in America. I don't know. I don't fully agree with that. That you're only as strong as the weakest person.
Okay, but I mean, I agree. We can agree that as a society, we do have a vested interest in making sure that everybody can contribute to society, right?
Yes.
So,
Agreed.
I mean, the best way to ensure that they can contribute is to provide, the best healthcare possible when they need it.
Yeah, and also,
to me, this is an economic issue. This is an ethical issue. It's really just as simple as this. You're sick, you deserve to get better. That's my hard line.
The only problem with that, which is a very harsh reality, I think, is that as healthcare gets better, people live longer, and the costs keep going up, right? So if you, like, the difference between healthcare costs now and healthcare costs when people can live to be 200, like, right now, I totally agree with you, Kyle, with where medicine is at right now. I think, yes, you should have a right to healthcare. But the problem I see is that in 50 years, 100 years, which is kind of weird to worry about, like, if people can live to be 200, the cost of that could just be insane. You know what I mean?
Right.
And
I'd hope at that point we're spending less on frivolous things like imperialistic warfare.
True,
Yeah.
but it might get to the point where there might have to be some, and this is very not fun thing to talk about, but there might have to be some limits on, like, how long you can live for and stuff.
What?
Because there's only a certain amount, like, let's say it got to the point, which is, I think, is possible, where, like, half of GDP was being spent on healthcare. Because people just live for so long.
Right.
Once you get to 90, your body starts to break down, but there are ways to keep you alive. Like, I think that might be inefficient.
Yeah, to have a whole system where everyone gets that no matter what. Also, there's, like you were talking about with the profit motive of that, with those sort of systems that you have where there's no profit motive, there's no incentive to reduce the price ever in order for a greater amount of the people to afford it in the long run.
There is an incentive.
What's the incentive?
So, like, what happens in Europe is there's, like, a hip, like, someone makes fake hips, right? And the government only gives out one contract to make all the fake hips. So if you can give a better hip at a lower price, you get all of the business. That's basically how the European healthcare model has, like, incentives to.
See, the way that I feel that it works out is this one company who makes fake hips bribes a bunch of politicians, and now they're the people who make fake hips for everybody.
That's not how it's working, and, like, this is happening right now.
How do we know that's not?
No textbook.
How do we know that's not happening?
Basically, I think you guys are just slowly coming to the conclusion that there's no such thing as ethical capitalism.
Oh, this guy. This guy, just what are you talking about? It's completely ethical.
There's a difference between healthcare and making Xboxes. Okay, buddy. Okay, guy.
No.
I get it. Hey, you don't want to profit off other people's misfortune. Fine. But saying that it's unethical to make Xboxes and make money off that is, I don't know. I don't see any. The problem
crazy.
is, well, I agree with. I'll just lay it all on the table. I like Marx. I agree with his. I think he's
There
like, to me, he's like a movie critic, right? The best movie critic isn't good at making movies, though. Is he good at pointing out the stuff that's wrong with capitalism? Yeah. Is he good at building a new system of economics? Not really. Like, I think when you have strong central government and central planning, you completely ignore the good things about free market economics, right?
Okay, I just want to point something out real quick.
Go ahead.
I know I joke about, really enjoying Karl Marx, and I do, and I enjoyed reading him, and I agree with a lot of what he said. I also don't think an economic system in 2019 should be based off the writings of a mid-19th century German.
Well, fuck you, and because I do.
Because I also don't believe that the American government should be ran in 2019 in the same way that a bunch of rich white guys from 1790 decided it should be ran.
I think the age of an idea does not have to do with the validity of an idea.
The idea needs to be amenable to change.
Let's also throw this out there. Those white guys who made the system, it's not like we're running it the way that they thought we would. Let's be honest
some
on
did,
that
some
one.
didn't.
Yeah, I mean, senators aren't voted on by each state. What am I trying to say? The state Congress, whatever. Stupid. Kyle, how should America's government be run?
Oh, dude, that's a loaded and very large question.
That was a bad question.
Yeah. That was all right.
Again,
first fix that
we
comes to
should
your
aim
head.
to be Star Trek.
Aim to be Star Trek. Okay.
That would be my ultimate goal.
William Shatner for president.
Space Force.
Oh, yeah, Space Force.
Jean-Luc Picard, come on.
Huh?
You got to go Picard over Kirk. Come on.
No, are you kidding me? You're gonna go Picard over Kirk?
All right, let's not do
Yeah.
this.
No. No.
Let's not do this.
He
I'm
said
playing,
Aleppo,
I'm
and then he
playing
said this.
D&D later tonight. This is too nerdy. This is too nerdy, okay? Let's get back to politics. That's what everyone wants to hear about. What's next on the docket?
Oh, what a coincidence. Kirk.
Huh?
Kirk is better, man.
I'm not saying either. I think they both have own valid
Is the
opinions.
libertarian trying to comment on Star Trek? Isn't that an oxymoron?
I can like
You can't
things.
just keep calling things oxymorons.
I'm allowed to
Kyle.
like
Come on.
things, sir.
It's my word of the day, okay?
You know what he would say? You know what? You honestly know what he would say to me after this podcast is over? He goes, "You know why Star Trek existed? Capitalism." That's what he'd go. Guess what? Someone had incentive to make a profit to make a TV show. So what they did is they invented that TV show so they could make a profit off of it. Everything is due to capitalism. That's the only driving force in the world. Yeah. Okay, Ryan.
All I'm saying is, since you like
Pakistan, India. That was a good talk, but now we're way off topic. I'm cool with derailing, but we're not having a 20-minute debate about which Star Trek captain was better on a podcast that I'm on. Did you guys hear about the Pakistan, India?
I did. I think we need to stay out of that.
Kyle, did you hear about that?
I have a baseline knowledge of what's going on, yeah.
Can you, in your terms, just go through it for anybody that's listening that doesn't know what happened? Or I can.
No.
No?
Yeah, why don't you sum it up? If you got,
All right,
sound
so
like you got something in front of you.
I don't, but just from one. Pakistan and India have had a disputed territory called Kashmir that they've had a couple like wars over. Pakistan and India also hate each other. If you don't know that, by the way,
Facts.
Like it might not be politically correct to say for some reason, but in general, they Muslim versus Hindu,
not fans,
not the biggest supporters of each other. There's a suicide bomber from a Pakistani that blew up a bunch of, I forget if it was troops or it was something to do with the Indian military, I think, in Kashmir. And then India, in response, started doing, like, they would fly their planes into Pakistani space. And then Pakistan shot down one of those planes and had a captive Indian pilot, and then they gave him back to India.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, two nuclear powers, kind of on the brink of war. Not good. No es bueno.
And not covered much on the news.
Yeah, like how is that not covered? I don't get it. They both have nukes.
It's a terrifying potential
Yeah.
conflict. It's absolutely horrifying.
I was just. Oh, go ahead.
This actually, I don't know. You guys know me at least a little bit. I don't know if you guys ever watched. My favorite show of all time is The West Wing.
Oh, The West Wing is a good show.
Okay, so in the very first season, one of the very early episodes is an episode called Lord John Marbury, and they bring in this British guy to talk about an India-Pakistan conflict.
Mm-hmm.
That's not quite all different from what we could potentially be seeing.
Mm-hmm.
And I just found this quote, and I want to read it out if it's okay.
Yeah, of course.
This is Aaron Sorkin writing for The West Wing, and this is the character. Quote, "You're all frightened as well you should be. Not since the Protestant Catholic Wars in the 16th century has Western society known anything remotely comparable to the subcontinent's religious malevolence. To a lesser observer, the intensity of the emotional frenzy is so illogical as to border on mass psychosis, but as been said by kings and queens, I am not a lesser observer." You're just talking to character there. But it is a decades, if not centuries long entrenched conflict that we as Western society are not aware of and can quite understand. Maybe to some extent, Ireland is a baseline. Does any of that make any sense? Or are you guys following?
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. I just, when it's that complex, I just say stay out of it. Don't even.
This is a geopolitical affair that honestly just scares the balls off me.
Yeah, you say stay out of it, but it's hard to ignore stuff like this.
It doesn't really scare me
because America will get dragged into it because China will pick a side if there is a full scale military war, and then America will kind of have to pick a side.
Why would we have to?
Because you can't have...
Yeah, if there's a nuclear weapon involved,
Yeah.
everybody's involved.
Yeah, exactly. And you can't have... The other problem is that you can't have another superpower gaining power and yourself not do it.
Well, I mean, you can let them over
Because then
expand
you're less of a superpower.
Who cares? You try to have a stable economy that's not going to collapse in the future.
Countries care. We've had this talk before.
We have. I still disagree.
What scares me is that I am growing increasingly confident at some point in my life I'm going to see a nuclear bomb drop.
Yeah.
Yeah, most likely.
Yeah.
Whether it'll be us or even more likely, someone with deeply entrenched and dogmatic religious views somewhere in the world.
That's more likely.
The only shining hope is that there have been, especially during the Cold War, there were a couple times where people got confirmed that a nuclear bomb had dropped, and they decided not to retaliate, which is like a little beacon of hope. Like, there are a couple times, especially in the Soviet Union, where all of their instruments said the U.S. has detonated a nuclear bomb,
And then they didn't hit
and
it.
then they
Yeah.
didn't respond,
Right.
Which is what I hope would happen.
I don't think anyone...
Do you trust Putin and Trump not to
Yeah.
rush to that button?
Yeah.
'Cause I sure as hell don't.
I
do.
I don't know.
Got a lot more faith in that president than I do, man.
I just don't think
know,
that they're
man.
both rushing to nuke people. Like as what, like you were saying, I think it's more likely with people to be nuking other people is some sort of religious conflict where they want a whole nother side of people dead. You know what I mean? Some like radical, like say some radical
Yeah,
Christian or radical Muslim in a certain country got involved and they have all the end time.
Oh,
prophecies.
I think a dirty bomb on the London subway or in Times Square is far more likely than one country dropping it on somebody else.
No, I'm just saying, like, if you were talking about, I'm not worried about anybody really nuking anybody other than, like you were talking about, with a really heavy, like, religious theocracy taking control of an entire country. That's when I really think you're going to see, like, the higher risk of nukes in the future. I don't know. I just don't see it happening too much, just
Like
with
if
the
a theocracy had nukes, like Pakistan.
No, yeah, I understand that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But he was talking
Sorry.
about Trump and Putin.
Yeah, the thing is, you don't even want to think about it, though.
No, I
You
don't.
really don't want to live in a world where it's like one fuck up and
then bam,
then 90% of the population's dead.
Yeah, dude, I live really close to DC. I'm like an hour away.
Yeah.
Did you guys ever play Modern Warfare 2?
Yep.
Do you remember the part where Do you remember the part where like the stuff came on the screen that's like an invasion has happened in Prince George's County or whatever, and you're like, that scared the fuck out of me, dude.
Wait, is that the one with Kevin Spacey or not?
No.
Then no, I didn't play it.
How much bigger are nukes now than they were when they got dropped in like Hiroshima?
A lot.
Oh.
Yeah, it's like
an
ridiculous, isn't
infinite
it?
amount. Yeah. Well,
lot.
The Tsar Bomba, it was 80 megatons, was the biggest one that's ever been tested. But I think the real thing that's scary too is that bioweapons have come so far. Like,
Yeah,
and you
that's
don't hear about
scarier. That's scarier just because it's so, the deaths on those are so painful. Like,
Yeah, and
that's
it's
what
scarier
scares
too,
me.
because there's a good portion of the population doesn't believe in vaccines anymore.
Yeah, that's a problem. That's becoming a problem.
Jesus Christ.
I don't understand those people,
But we
man.
can all agree on that one, right?
Yeah.
Like that, vaccinate your fucking kids.
But, how about...
Actually, no, of course.
Well, I don't know
I mean,
about that one.
I mean, if you want them to be autistic. No, but, no, that's stupid. I shouldn't even joke about that. I shouldn't even joke about that.
Disclaimer on that one.
Yeah, but going back to the bomb thing, I was just making going for the cheap joke.
I don't know. It's scary. And then you have Putin making land grabs in Europe. Moldova might become part of Russia, which they say they want to do, but you don't know if they really say they want to do.
Yeah, or if it's just like, we'll kill you.
Yeah.
We'll kill you if you don't.
Moldova's it's not a good place to live. I just had my brother's fiance just got back from there, and it sounds like 80s Soviet Union where
Wasn't Moldova ranked like lowest on the happiness index? Like 2 years ago.
It's not a good place.
Just no one smiles ever.
What's weird is she told me is that everyone dresses super nice though, because you're not supposed to have people think you're poor. So you'll have people that are starving in like a 3-piece suit.
Really?
Whatever. Yeah. which is really weird to
What
see.
a weird dichotomy.
I mean,
don't know
we
if that's
call
the
it
proper
weird,
word.
but then we participate in this consumerist culture that like eats our happiness and souls away. You ever heard of Facebook? Yeah, you better be happy all the time, you capitalist pig.
Dude, I just bought shit off Wish.com or whatever they call it, that little app. That's just all Chinese slave labor.
Everything's Chinese slave labor,
Yeah.
though. You ever buy a pair of Nikes?
Yeah, I stopped buying Nike.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Oh.
Do I want to know why?
Chinese slave labor.
Oh, okay, that's a good reason.
Oh, you were thinking Kaepernick? No. I'm for the whole.
Honestly, for a second there, I thought.
No. That's
No.
anything
Nah,
that has to
you're better
do.
than that.
Yeah, the only thing that we'd probably disagree on is economics. When it comes to like people's rights and like accepting other people's cultures and shit like that, we'd probably agree 100%.
Yeah.
Like I'm for your right to protest and all that jazz. Like, and I think a lot of people are very disingenuous when it comes to the Kaepernick situation, where they're like, "Oh, he's disrespecting the troops." It's like that's not. Have you listened to anything that's been said?
I hate how that's the two things I hate when people say is like disrespect the troops and like something harms kids. You know what I mean? Those are the two elements everyone always goes to. Like, but what about like someone releases a violent video game? But what about the kids? It's like
Won't somebody please think of the children?
Yeah, and it's like you can't just say that and win every argument.
It's like,
You
how
know
about
what I
be a
mean?
better parent?
Yeah. Or how about don't make steak illegal because a baby can't chew it. Mark Twain.
I don't know. We do that kind of shit all the time, though. Those idiots were eating Tide Pods. California went out,
dude,
and immediately started making legislation to where you had to get individual wrappings around each Tide Pod. Now Tide Pods cost so much over there in California versus the rest of the country.
They're just happening in Canada. I read this today where a bunch of Canadians that were like 30 years old won a lawsuit against cigarette corporations because they didn't know cigarettes were bad for them. I can't make that up. They just
Dude.
won like $6 million.
I need to do that.
Huh?
Well, now I can't because it's going to be my plan is on air.
Is on air.
but
Jesus Christ,
You can
man.
edit that out.
Yeah, I'll edit, yeah. There's just going to be like my whole thing of like acceptance of their
Wouldn't
plan.
that be
is gone.
dope though? Like
What, suing?
Put an advertisement in for cigarettes over it.
Huh?
What?
Just put a fake ad for cigarettes over that, and you can just cut it
Oh
out.
yeah,
Oh, right, yeah. There we go.
Winston Churchill's. No, I don't know. I don't know the name of an old cigarette. Lucky Stripes.
Okay, so we'll do one more topic. Do you guys want to discuss trans people or Planned Parenthood defunding?
Let's do trans people. I think we can do both of those.
All right, we can do both.
Okay, I want to make a comment on the trans people article that you sent. We're all straight, yes? We all identify heterosexual?
Yes.
And we're all white, and we're all dudes?
Yeah, that's been a recurring theme on this podcast.
Next week it changes, though.
I'm
have a white
not
girl.
entirely sure that we're qualified to be talking about that topic.
Oh, I think that's bullshit. I think we're
I think
qualified.
this one, we can talk about whether or not we're qualified to talk on this topic. That would be interesting.
Yeah, let's do that. Why do
debate.
you think we're not qualified to talk about that?
Because none of us are people of color or people who have to deal with discrimination based on our sexual orientation.
Why does that automatically dismiss any comment that we would have on the situation?
It's not our experience. It's not something that we can possibly understand.
I think I totally get what you're saying, and I would totally agree on many other issues that we shouldn't speak on it. But when it comes to sports, it just seems pretty obvious what the right answer is.
Yeah.
When you have male bone structure and male muscle inserts, it just seems like you have an advantage.
Well, it doesn't
I know.
seem...
Well, Kyle said he didn't want to talk.
They
about it,
have they have an advantage.
Or that we shouldn't talk.
guys, I'm gonna sit this one out. This isn't for me to discuss.
Let's move on.
Yeah.
Let's go. Let's talk to Planned Parenthood.
Cool.
Respect your beliefs.
All right, we'll talk about it on our.
Yeah, you guys feel
thing.
free. I'm just saying, like, I don't think that I'm in a position where I
Fair enough.
Okay.
can and should be commenting on that kind of story.
Definitely.
That's fair.
But we want to have stuff that we all want to talk about.
Cool.
So,
Yeah. I
how
get
about
that. We'll move on
Planned
to the next thing.
Parenthood defunding?
So I can assume that you guys are against the whole defunding of Planned Parenthood.
I am. I don't want unwanted. I think Planned Parenthood does a lot of good.
I think if you all think that, you should donate money to Planned Parenthood.
I do.
Good.
don't.
You put your money where your mouth is, Parker.
I'm a hypocrite.
Shut the fuck up.
We've already established I'm a bad person.
Right.
But
I keep my receipts for when I go to Hobby Lobby or when I need things for my comic books, and I match donations to Planned Parenthood.
That's awesome.
Nice. Good for you,
That
dude.
is
that's what. But that's
moral
how
person.
That's how I think it should be funded. Just charitable donations to that. I don't think that we should. And this goes with every single business in the world. I don't think we should be subsidizing any business. Just because
Planned Parenthood isn't a business.
they're a private organization, though.
Yeah,
like I don't think we should be subsidizing any private organizations.
As far as I know, there aren't
any private organizations.
Yeah, like oil. Like we shouldn't subsidize oil.
Yeah,
either.
we shouldn't do that. But it's I don't know. Planned Parenthood does so much good. Like if we were talk to.
It does way more than abortions, but the problem is everybody just focuses on the abortion prospect.
Right.
Like it's not even like it's like a fraction of what they provide.
And like what you were doing, like what I believe what Kyle's doing is the way that it should be done, though. You should, if you believe in that organization and you want that to continue happening, donate a couple bucks a month or something to it so they can continue doing that. I don't think that you should be forcing other people who don't agree with the stuff to using their tax dollars to subsidize a company they don't believe in.
My tax dollars go to things that I disagree with all the time.
Right.
Like
Yeah,
war.
that's part of living in a society. Is your tax dollars go to stuff you don't believe in?
Not necessarily. It doesn't have to mean
oh
that.
my
It
God!
doesn't-
Yeah,
doesn't
sorry.
mean that.
I forgot about your libertarian state where.
What have we been talking about for the last hour?
What?
I mean, we were all talking about like the our money going towards huge expensive war.
Yeah, which it shouldn't.
But just because that happens doesn't mean. Like I disagree with all of that.
But then you can also just say I disagree with something and not pay any taxes.
Well, then you're gonna go to jail.
No, but I'm talking about in your society. What if you said I don't believe in public education? Then
Oh,
you don't
I
have
see
to
what you're
pay-
saying.
You don't have to pay tax for public education. Which I also think it's bullshit how much money you pay in the society when you don't have kids to people that have kids.
Mhm.
You get so much deductions when you have kids and stuff, and it's like,
Yeah.
what if I don't want to have kids? Am I just punished economically for it?
Yep, pretty much. Like
The
that's
machine's
that
got to
seems
churn
be,
out new laborers.
That seems to be how it is.
The capitalist machine.
But yeah, that's pretty much my opinion on. I just don't think that we should be using taxpayer dollars to be subsidized shit. Now it's different. Like,
Do you think it's a net
different
good,
when
though?
it comes
Do you
to
think Planned Parenthood does net good?
net goods with their services.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they give all those mammograms and whatnot. It's very good. They give away birth control. And
Yeah,
shit
thank
like
God
that.
for the birth control.
Yeah. So I mean, but
you know what would help, like not having to subsidize these places like Planned Parenthood?
Are you gonna say sex education?
Well, sex education would help.
Yeah.
For sure. But you know, if everyone had access to healthcare.
That's true.
And like I was trying to say earlier, I think that if the government didn't get involved so much, we could have pretty affordable healthcare by now after all the years of ingenuity that would have gone by. That's the thing that sucks, though. Like even with when the war went by and we put wage controls on, and that prevented people from raising wages to a point to attract workers because the labor force was so limited at that time. That's how people got on to like, okay, since we can't raise your wage, we'll pay for your health care.
Pay for your health
and that's
care.
how we got locked on to the health care being tied to your
employer,
and then that became a tax deductible thing, and then it kept like that. So even the thing we were talking about earlier, getting rid of these deductions, if you get rid of that deduction, it kind of I don't know what the end result of that would be, because now those employees cost a lot more, so they'd probably have to fire people. We've just thrown things so far out of whack with how government's got involved in these certain things, and to the point where everyone's just got to go here. Well, now the government's got to come in and fix the thing that they did.
I think inherently it's just different philosophies about what the purpose of government is.
Mm-hmm.
And I think me and Kyle are more on the side of government. Part of government's job is to fix problems. Is if there's a huge problem, the government should fix it because it has a duty to protect its citizens.
Right, and I would agree with that. However, it seems like a lot of the problems that we have today have been directly brought on by the government who began a problem, like we see with the healthcare situation, and now it's like, okay, since we fucked up, instead of getting rid of the thing that we did, so other people can kind of figure this out in the marketplace, they just go on and add another layer of them fucking up. So what?
Yeah, but problems aren't all like. I think part of what's wrong with what you're saying is you're treating all problems like they're the same severity. If you can fix a big problem, but to do that you have to make a little problem, that's still like a net good. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. Like for example, the Flint, Michigan thing. Like, yeah, use taxpayer dollars to fix all the pipes. Just get that fixed.
Yeah, well,
that's
really
but then you sit there and you go like, oh, that's what we're gonna do, and that's the one thing that everyone's like, they're not putting they're putting money towards it now. It's really slow, but it took them a while to put that money towards it.
It didn't take them that. I think that whole story has gotten confused.
You think
The problem is that the pipes are, I forget exactly what it was, but it's really hard to fix those pipes, and it takes a lot of time to do it. I think the response happened a lot quicker than people thought, and then they just see pictures of people that are like, our water still is damaged,
right?
And like what my understanding what happened with that was they used a new water source, which was acidic, which removed like a layer of protection from the pipes, which then let the lead leach into the thing. So now you have to make all new pipes, basically, which very quick problem to make, very slow solution to that problem, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know.
No, I'd agree with you on that one. It's going to take a while, but
it's got to get done.
Yeah,
it does have to get done.
But I'm saying that's a thing that I would be for spending all that money on.
Like, have you heard the whole story about how like the people were trying to save money? Basically, it's like, fuck those people. Those people should be in jail that did that.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that. That
like
the guy who was running that district or that little area should definitely be in jail.
Yeah,
but he won't be. He won't be. That never happens.
That's a problem with capitalism, right?
No, that's not. Don't go Kyle on me.
No. We have Kyle guests on. I gotta side with them.
I see what you're doing.
No,
I see what you're doing.
No, I agree.
I just kind of go along
it's
with
okay.
everyone else.
I mean, I knew I was the token liberal being brought on.
Well, typically our other host is.
We have another token liberal.
Well, a token commie, I guess.
Okay, so yeah.
Hell yeah.
You would be the token commie. But hey, guys.
Is that about it?
Yeah, I'm thinking that's been a wrap.
Good.
Kyle, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, it's been really fun.
A very effective talk.
Our first guest. I think it went pretty well.
I really enjoyed it. I learned a lot from Kyle's perspective that I probably wouldn't have if we never did this.
And Kyle, you also made us look like assholes by not knowing who are having a political podcast and not knowing who our fucking state representatives are.
Yep.
Sorry, but you kind of know that.
Yeah, we should. We definitely. I'm memorizing that shit tonight.
Listen, the funny thing is, I was just thinking about doing deep research into who everyone was like 2 days ago. I didn't think it was going to come up this quick.
Yeah, like most people though in state government just aren't interesting. You know what I mean?
Right, and and that's the problem. We'll get into that another time. Thank you very much, Kyle, for coming on. This is
no problem. Thanks for having me.
This has been preferably. Is there anything you wanted to plug? You said you wanted to plug something.
Oh, I mean, just follow me on Twitter at Kyle Reyes. I produce comic books. I'm working on a new web series. It's going to be on YouTube by the end of the year. It's about the Founding Fathers, and you guys might enjoy it. So,
what's it called?
Do you have a title?
I don't have a title for it yet. It's still in the writing stage, but we're going to be filming it this summer.
Cool. All right.
Can I recommend the name Fathers of Liberty?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't like that either.
I mean, you can recommend it, but I'm not going to use it.
Yeah, I wouldn't use it either.
Check out Kyle's new book, Fathers of Liberty.
No, just keep an eye out for my comic book, Primal Instincts, about dinosaurs in space.
Nice.
Awesome.
Primal Instincts. Just keep an eye out. I got a lot coming out this year, so.
Sweet.
All right, guys.
Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
All right, peace, man.
Peace.
All right, guys. This has been Preferably Biased. Thank you very much for watching. I'm fucking butchering this ending, but like, share, and subscribe. Have a good day, y'all. All right. That went well.
I think that went pretty well.
That went really well. Kyle, what'd you think? Is he gone? Yep.
He dipped there we go.
What'd you think, Kyle?
Did I cut out too soon? Sorry.
No, you're good.
No, we just bullshit a little bit after it's.
Yeah.
But